Before I start this interview, I just wanted to come on here and quickly say that in the middle of the interview, you're going to notice a small cut, and that's because Kid Chocolate's laptop actually dies in the middle of the interview. But bear with us. We tried picking up right where he left off, and I think it was a great interview. But go support Kid Chocolate on Instagram at Kid Chocolate, and on Twitter, Kid Chocolate MJ. And of course, the guest co-host of the interview, Justin. Go follow him at the Wrestling Class and go support him. Go subscribe to his podcast, the TWC Show, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And keep supporting the Dropkick Podcast. And I appreciate everybody. And continue watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Dropkick Podcast. Today, I have a special co-host and also a guest. First of all, we got the Wrestling Classic as the co-host. You know him on Instagram. He's the godfather of Instagram.
The godfather.
He's got it. And also, we got Kid Chocolate, the man himself, former.
The Kid.
Yes, sir.
The Kid.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? How are you doing?
Living life, man. Just trying to do the thing out here and all this craziness. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Just the same thing, man. Trying to get through the weirdness that was 2020.
Yeah. It's still for us. We're just actually going back to lockdown tomorrow.
Are you guys?
Yeah,
the same thing was said about you guys in Ottawa, right?
Oh, you're in Ottawa?
No, I'm in Toronto.
Toronto? Yeah, okay. It's crazy.
Yeah, but you guys went in lockdown too, right?
Yeah, we are.
It's nuts, man. It's crazy times, bro. Crazy times. Can't catch a break out here.
Yeah, man. But how's training? We see a ring back there. How is that going for you?
Oh, man. It's going good, man. I've been obviously no shows, especially on our side. I know there's like some provinces or some places in the world still like kind of maintaining shows or whatnot. But here in Alberta, there's none. Like, especially the company I wrestle for, there's no wrestling shows at all. So it's just trying to stay in shape in the ring and whatnot. So it's going good for me at least,
So from the last time we spoke, you weren't obviously wrestling then because I think we were like in a full lockdown at that point.
Yeah.
So how long have you been back in the ring? Like, how long have you been training now that since?
I've been training since then as well. I was training at then because this place I'm at, I got like the keys for, so I just come in myself and train and whatnot. So it's pretty good. So I've been in the ring ever since, but it's just not on a show or whatnot.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But for those of the people that are watching and who are unfamiliar with Kid Chocolate, how long have you been wrestling for?
Man, I'm going into my fourth year right now, I think.
Really?
Once wrestling starts, but yeah, it'll be my fourth year. So I'm still kind of grinding. I'm still kind of green in a way. So, or in a lot of ways, I am green. So I'm still running the circuits out here, bro. Trying my best.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're pretty close with the Hart family too. You know what I mean? And I just interviewed TJ Wilson, and he put you over hard. Like he came to one of your shows and was like, I really liked how he wrestled and put on like this performance, and like he really, he was into that.
No, but TJ's my guy, man.
Yeah, he's super dope, man. But how did you originally link up with the Hart family? How did that all come together? Because I know you're cool with Blade and Dell and whatnot.
Yeah, man. It's long story short, man. But like, funny enough, I met TJ way before them. Like before, like Blade or like Bret and all those guys. I met TJ at his school. He came to do like one of them bullying, like be a star things by my house. Yeah. And his sister worked at the school or something. So my little brother was going to school. So he kept telling me all week, like, hey man, I know you're interesting, dog. So like you should know Tyson Kid's coming to the school. I'm like, why would Tyson Kid come to this neighbor? Like we live in this like small community in the middle, and I was like, there's so many schools in Calgary, man. Why this one, right?
Why this one, right?
Yeah, it was so awkward. But anyway, like I took this kid's word for it, and I like went to the school, and there was TJ was sitting right there, so I went and talked to him and said, what's up? This is, I think he had just come back from his knee surgery, like 2000, I think it was 13 or something like that, or he was coming back. So I talked to him over there and said, yo, I'm a big fan, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, yeah, we said hi to each other, took a picture, went my way. And then like maybe years later, maybe like 4 or 5 years later, probably a good 5-6 years later, like we linked up again through a friend of ours, Brooke and Pete. And we just man, it was like as soon as we seen each other. Actually, through the years, he followed me on Twitter, so I'd always send him a message.
Yeah.
You know, I'd always throw him on birthdays or anniversaries or whatever. I'd always say what's up or whatever, and same for him. And then when we seen each other, it was like we knew each other for like 7 years. So it was like,
you guys just clicked.
Yeah, he's good, man. That guy's pure. He's a pure dude, man. I was even telling Justin last time we did the interview.
Yeah,
he's good people. Man. He's good people.
When you met him, like at that time when you met him at the school, did you already know that you wanted to pursue wrestling? Like, did you go meet him with that in your mind already?
Yeah, like for advice and stuff. Like, I'm like, hey, man, I don't know where to go. Where do I go from here? Type of thing, you know?
So you found an opening to get advice and reach out to someone that's in the business, and you took it. Which that's props to you, man. Taking that initiative, you know.
For sure, man. Also, like I was a big TJ fan as well. Like I was a big Tyson Kidd fan to begin with. So like it was like the perfect like opportunity to say, man, you grew up in the city, like you did this thing. Where did you go? Like how did you start? Yeah. So like no, he definitely was like, hey man, do your thing, you know, go to school and whatnot, and then from there figure it out as you get older. At the time I was like 16 or 17, so he's like, you know, you got time, so relax. It was good, man. And as far as like Blade and that side of the family too, is like me and Blade, we used to see each other around the city a lot, right? We'd see each other, and then and really at the time I wasn't. There's so much like hard kids. Justin knows too. Like there's so much. Yeah. So like you just hear like that's a heart, and you don't know who's like who they belong to.
Like which one's whose parents and whatnot.
Exactly. You always out of respect, you always say hi and whatnot. But one day one of my friends was like, "Yo, Blade used to have these belts, like not actual wrestling belts, but like pants belts. Yeah, but it was like cotton title one. So like my friend, I was like looking at it, I was like, yo, that's a pretty cool belt. And my friend was like, that's Bret's kid, right? I'm like, no way. So like I went and like with the intent to even say, hey, cool belt. Now, like I wasn't even thinking about Bret or anything. I was like, yo, cool belt, man, whatever. And then we like went our ways, and then just through the years, man, we would always see each other at like a bar or a club or whatever it was, and we just kind of developed a friendship from there. And then it was like, hey, man, we see each other so often, and we always say what's up, like let's hang out sometime. And from there, just our friendship got pretty strong from there, and then the rest of the family just developed. It was just one of those ones.
So through all of that, you got to like begin a really close relationship with Bret Hart himself as well. Like he's really well aware of you. You get to train with him sometimes. Is there any advice that he's given you that really stuck with you?
Bret's the best, man. Bret's one of those, like, obviously, like you guys are very familiar. Like he's stand-up guy, and like, but also Bret's like a very, very private guy, like super private. Like I'm typically a guy where like I can read people. Like if I see you, I can read you, and I'm like, hey, Justin or Daniel, like they're either friendly people, they want to talk, or they don't want to talk. I'm good at that. So like the first couple of times I've been around Bret, I like seen that he was a very like quiet guy, very private. So I never really bugged him. Every time I see him, I would just say my respect. Hey, how you doing, sir? Boom, leave him alone, right? And then from there, I think a year ago, like early last year, I 2 years ago now, I broke my ankle, and I hadn't been wrestling. So I went down to Bret's house for his birthday. So like they were sort of like same time we did that interview, like prior to that, it was like his birthday plus the table hockey tournament. So I
remember the infamous Hart family table hockey.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I went down there for that. And then he seen I was wearing a boot. And at this point, I never told him I was a wrestler, never bugged him with wrestling questions, never. To him, he was like my dad's friend, right? Or my friend's dad, right? So what's that called? I never bugged him with wrestling questions, anything. So when he seen me with the boot, he like questioned it. He's like, hey, like what happened? I'm like, I was like, hey man, I wrestle. He's like, what? Yeah, I wrestle, and I broke it in a wrestling match, or fractured it in a wrestling match. And from there, it was kind of like, I could kind of see his brain turning, and he's like, this guy is a wrestler and he never bugs me. Like he never asks me a question. Like, so like and then as time went on, and it's like me and Blade always joke about it, but he would always ask questions. Like he was like, "Hey, how come this guy comes to my house? He's like a part of my family. He's a wrestler, and he never bugs me, right?"
Yeah.
And then from there, like my friendship with him got kind of closer, and we started talking a lot more. And then it was like we'd go out for lunch or whatever the case. And then that's when like I started like, "Hey man, how do I go about this?" You know, and he would always give me advice, and he'd be like, some of the best advice he would just tell me, man. He was like, he'd always told me to be myself. Like, don't try to be something else, or don't try to be something you see on TV. Try to be yourself and try to like mold, like work hard, obviously, and try to mold yourself, right? You know, don't try to obviously watch TV and say, "Hey, this is what's being done. I want to do this." Try to come up with your own stuff. He's always been there, and he's been here. He's helped me with some stuff. So Bret's very, very giving guy. That whole family's a very giving family, man.
It's a great family, man. Absolutely. Yeah. But switching topics a little bit, how was your training with Lance Storm?
Oh man, Lance Lance is a character. Lance is awesome. Man, Lance is serious. Like the whole "can I be serious for a minute" that you get into gimmick, man. Lance is a serious dude. I went at this point when I went to Lance's, I had been reffing for a local promotion, right? I've been around at that point. I've been around 3 years, you know, setting up chairs, doing like setting up the ring, trying to pick up, at the same time trying to pick up as much as I can from people that went to the school, right? I didn't just want to go to the school and have mistakes, right? To me, I'm like, I want to do this. I want to go there. I want to be the best student. I want to be the best student in that class. You want to earn it, yeah. So I like wanted to ask questions to guys that went there and tell them, "Hey, like, how was it? What was the experience like? What is the expectations?" So like in like a 2-3 years, I like collected enough information to pretty much understand what Lance expects from people or how he does things. So by the time I went there, I had a full understanding and picked up things pretty quick. But he was one of the best trainers. I haven't experienced many other trainers, obviously, but from how I got trained and from how many others got trained and how I picked up on things and how he explained and taught, everything was so simple, man. It was like so simple, right? Obviously, not a lot of people in the world can do that because wrestling is really hard, right? But Lance is top class, man. He's top notch guy too. Especially when you get to know him a little, he opens up a little, and then start throwing jokes and stuff like that. And then you're like, yeah, this guy's solid.
Well, at first it's probably like he wants to see who's gonna like last. Exactly. Right? A lot of people sign up, a lot of people go, but how many are actually passionate and gonna stay here? And I think once you pass that that unseen line of like, oh, this guy's gonna stick around, then it opens up to you a bit more, probably, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the first like month of the school is usually like just regular simple stuff that almost everyone can do, right? And then once like the bumping and stuff starts coming in, then you can kind of see the class separate, right? The people that really wanted to pursue this and actually want this, you'll see on one side, and then the people that were like, let me actually give this a try and see how it is. You see those ones on one side, and not long after that, you kind of see the whole class separate. Exactly. But it was good, man. He was a good trainer, good guy.
That's great, man. But also on the podcast, I do like to talk about mental health. If you're comfortable with sharing, of course, have you ever struggled with your mental health? And if so, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling out there?
For me, like I've never had problems with any mental health problem with anything to do with that, and I do feel for anybody who does go through any mental problems in terms of anywhere, like whether it's in the wrestling business, anywhere, right? It's really tough. Like I have quite a few. I know quite a few people that do go through that mental health problems, and it's tough. But for me, I've always since I was a kid, I've always been a simple dude. Like I've just like little things. Like to me, I've like playing video games and staying home to me is the world to me. Like that's
I was gonna spin the question. I was gonna be like, say for example, obviously it's your dream and your passion to wrestle, right? When you hurt your ankle, that might have been a little bit stressful because you couldn't train or wrestle the way you wanted to. Like, how did you cope with that? Like that kind of stress, you know? Like, like, I'm on such a roll and now I hurt my ankle and I can't go in the ring again. Like, how would you?
Sure, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, I did have like there was like a couple of days. It was mostly, honestly, it wasn't a lot to do with wrestling, but it was a lot to do with like, shit, man, I can't really. Yeah, I can't do anything. I can't. It was hard for me to go to the bathroom and like.
You have to like rely on other people.
Yeah, so it was like, or like I live in a. Can you guys hear me? Because they're doing the snow. Yeah, you guys good?
Yeah.
What's it called? I live on the second floor of a building, so I got to go up stairs, right? Yeah. So it's like, it was the days I decided to go out and do something. It was like I got to come up on these stairs. It was really sad. It was like really sad going up these stairs and not really taking. It was about like I think like it's like 2 stairs, and it's like usually I can run up that in 2 seconds, and like, now I'm like throwing my crutches, and that was like the sad part where it was more funny to me than sad. I was laughing at myself like, dude, this is really real life. But yeah, man, I think I've told Justin for sure, but I'm from Africa, obviously. I'm from Kenya, and I like grew up in a refugee camp down in Kenya. So like things like obviously where I come from was always hard and everything. So I learned early on in life like to take things easy, like never really stress yourself, because let things come to you, right? So me being Canada, me even talking to you guys, is like I'm grateful for things like this, right? So like I never stress myself or I never put myself through anything, because I'm like, hey man, I'm alive. I'm wrestling. I love wrestling. I have friends. I have all my family are healthy and alive. So like those are the things I look at. So like in terms of like me really being sorry, go ahead. Yeah, like in terms of me being stressful or anything, I try, even if I feel myself going there, I cut myself off and say, hey man, I'm very grateful. I shouldn't go that way.
No, 100%. So like when you do start getting stressed or you think things are bad, you remember the things you're grateful for. And that kind of brings things back to like, you know what? Things could be a lot worse.
Yes, sir.
Or not, you know? Yes, and I think that's good advice to give to someone that might have mental health issues.
Man, like that's actually, there was somebody on my Facebook the other day that like they were posting something about them being really like down, and I like commented and saying, hey man, listen, you're healthy, your family's healthy, you know, look at that. I think his status had something to do with like him not having any positive in life or something. I'm like, dude, man, you're alive, your family's alive, they're healthy. Look at that before you look at the negative, right? Like look at that, you know, see that first, and then you're like, oh man, I'm actually very lucky, right? And then go from there.
100%. So,
yeah.
Absolutely, man. I think, you know, there's so many like obstacles in life, but you just gotta like filter that out, and you gotta remember, like, you know, I think Justin put this on our show. Like, one of his friends told him to like write things down that he's done and like list them and like look at all the cool things that he's done. And then, you know, with everyone that's listening, like do that, filter those things out, because there's so much out there that we don't really, you know, like perceive, you know. I think it's all about perspective, in my, you know, opinion.
Because I used to get in the mode where I'd always be so stressed out about what I'm supposed to do next. I'm like, well, this needs to happen and that needs to happen. And a friend of mine that was like, why don't you look at the things you've already done? Because it's pretty cool. Like you never stop and think like you've done some stuff already. And I'm like, I never did. I was always looking forward. Like I need to do this, and this. And then like, just take it easy, be grateful. Like that's so cool. And I'm like, I guess so.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, man. That's a good advice to give to people, man. It's just like, you just gotta, obviously life is difficult for a lot of us, you know. It doesn't matter how good you have it in life, there's always something. There's always a negative in life, there's always something that's missing. So you gotta always sit down and weigh your stuff, you know. Like, hey man, I'm really grateful that I woke up today. I'm really grateful that my mom is well and alive. You know, you gotta look at that, and then it's like, now when you look at the positive or the negative, you're like, oh shit, man. I'm really like, I shouldn't be complaining, really, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a lot. I mean, obviously, it's a lot easier to say that than, you know, go through some things. But I really think people should, you know, in life look at the positive first before they look at the negative, right? And
I always say you can be sad or angry for like a day, but after that day of sadness and angriness, then figure it out. Cause
man, time heals everything, man. Time heals everything. You just got to give yourself time, be patient. Yeah. Crazy
But,
times, man. Crazy times living.
yeah, man, it really is. But taking things back to the wrestling perspective,
Yeah.
out of everyone currently right now on the main stage of professional wrestling, who do you want to face the most?
Oh man, I've always been like a Randy Orton guy. I've always been a Randy Orton. Yeah,
Same here.
Yeah, I think currently Randy Orton's the best. Well, the last 10 years
Absolutely.
or
100%.
is the best wrestler in the world. It's like
Longevity,
effortless. I feel like this guy just wakes up and just walks in there and doesn't like it's effortless, man.
Or like it's natural to him, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so easy. Like wrestling's one of those things too. Like it's easy to learn, or like it's easy to pick it up, and then there's this part of like you picked it up. Now there's the huge gap of getting good.
Yeah,
so it's like easy to pick up, but the getting good part is like a whole different world.
Whole
so
different
it's like
ballgame,
yeah. When a guy like that really goes out every night and makes it look like he's drinking coffee in his couch, it's like, well, what else?
Yeah.
What else? But Randy's my guy.
So recently I saw that video on your Instagram where Cody Rhodes complimented you because you guys worked in the same show. I don't know if I've never seen that before, but tell us about that. Like, how was that night? Like, how did that all happen? Did you talk to Cody afterwards at all? Or?
So there's this.
Give us an inside scoop.
It's funny, man. Me and Cody I haven't spoke to him in like a year, but me and Cody had a decent relationship where we would text back and forth for a while. Yeah. Right? I met Cody in Calgary right before I went to Lansing, so right before WrestleMania 33 Orlando. He came here to wrestle a good friend of mine. His name is Michael Blaze. He came to wrestle him, and one of my friends went to pick him up, and my friend picked me up as he went to pick him up to take us to the show, right? And on the way there, we were talking about this. I don't know if you guys watch basketball or basketball fans. But like Atlanta Hawk, he I think at the time he lived in Atlanta, but the Hawks were like the best team in the East at the time. So like we were talking back and forth about that, and he was so into it. So like and I was into it too. So we were chatting back and forth, and then I remember like I asked him like, hey man, I was like, we have this gap of like 2 hours before we go to this show. Like, you want to go to the gym or you want to do something? He's like, yeah, I'd love to go to the gym. But anyway, me and him. Throughout the day, we picked up a decent relationship, like a talking relationship, where he would come up to me for a lot of things he wanted answers for and stuff like that. And then later that day, or like later that night after the show, we went out to eat. Yeah. And he came up to me and he gave me his number. He's like, hey man, if you ever need anything, let me know. Like message me, questions, everything. I was like, no problem, man. And then at that point, I wasn't wrestling, right? I hadn't even go to Lansing yet. Right? Oh, yeah. And then the second time I seen him around, it was my like fourth or fifth, maybe like in between first and 10th match. I was in there, right? And he seen me and he's like, I was wearing my gear and I was walking the hallway and he like came out and he's like, dude, you wrestling? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm wrestling. He's like, holy shit. He's like, I got to see this. And then I think he never seen that match, but we talked more and it was like our relationship, I guess, got a little bit better from there. And then that video was from a promotion in Saskatchewan called HIW. Yeah. And he was out there for him. And at this point, I'm 2 years in. So I've picked up a little pace and I'm starting to get the game a little. And then we wrestled right before him. He was the main, I think, he was semi-main or something like that. So we were right before him. Yeah. And we went out and wrestled. And probably up to date, probably my best match, man. It was like me and this dude were hitting everything. We were like timing and everything was so sweet. Yeah, it was like everything was so sweet. And then after we came out, it's like we passed by him and he like kind of gave me the wink and he said, "Damn, man, that was pretty good." And then after his match, right after his match, that was the interview. Like right after his match, they pulled him to the side and they were interviewing him. And then where they were interviewing him was also the locker room. So we're all sitting there. Yeah. And then he was talking, and all of a sudden, all I hear is my name, right? So I stick my head out, and he's like, so as he's saying my name, me sticking my head out, and we seen each other, and he like called me in. But it was like, dude, yeah, he put me over in that video. Like he didn't have to, but he did. So that's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing soon.
I mean, that's a great relationship to have there, man.
Yeah, especially now. This wasn't going on before. Like, he didn't have AEW.
Yeah, you had no intention. This is a genuine relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a guy to definitely, when borders open up, to definitely shoot a message to. For sure.
Yeah, when they're on the road again and they're if they're like in the area.
Exactly. I'm very looking for. I'm so into. I watch.
So moving forward, I think Daniel had one more last question for you, which was,
what is the next chapter for?
What is the next chapter for Kid Chocolate?
Man, what can we expect?
Man, because I've been fortunate having a ring and training a lot. I think my game, in terms of, if I was good before, I'm definitely 10 times better now. Like, if like anybody that thought I was good, or if I thought I was good before, now it's a whole different game. So when things do open up, I'm definitely looking forward to making a name for myself a lot, and I'm looking to definitely travel a lot as well. Like, go overseas, and I have a lot of this lockdown also. You got to always find positive on everything.
Absolutely.
So like, this lockdown also gave me the opportunity to make relationships and talk to a lot of people, or also get help. Like, Bret's been a lot of fucking help for this as well. But yeah, I've been connecting with all these overseas people. Like, we've talked about the South Africa trip with Puerto Rico, and now I've got a few people down in the UK that are interested in having me down there, and the States. So as soon as things open up, I'm off on the races. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Absolutely, man. But I want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Where can we find you on Instagram? Plug everything you need to plug with.
Yeah. And first of all, thank you for having me as well, man. You guys are solid guys, man. Awesome. You can find me on Kid Chocolate. You just gotta add Kid Chocolate on Instagram, and then Twitter at Kid Chocolate MJ. Those are my two platforms, and I'm a big Instagram guy. I've been always bugging about. I always bug Justin about it, but I've been trying to this plateau. I'm stuck at like, I don't know, like 6,000 or something. So I'm trying to go. I'm like, I think like 10 or 15 away from 7,000.
Yeah,'t I'll give you a shout, man.
I just got the page back.
So,
we'll work on it.
Oh, man. So happy for you, man. So happy for you. You grinded for that. Good for you. But yeah, man. Hopefully you get it up going, and you guys. Congratulations on the new podcast, man, or the new platform and everything. So it should be fun, man. Good things coming for all of us.
Thanks,
for sure.
Really
Thanks for having me, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always.
And I want to thank.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I want to thank Justin. Yeah, I want to thank Justin for being the co-host. But you can go follow him at the Wrestling Classic, and yes, the TWC Worldwide page has been disabled again.
They're coming after me, but it's all good. We're back though.
We're back.
For sure. No, they're back.
Make sure you guys go follow Kid Chocolate. Kid Chocolate on Instagram and Kid Chocolate MJ on Twitter.
Yes, sir. Yeah, take me out of this 6,970 something episode.
Let's get this dude to 10K. Let's get him that swipe up feature.
That's my goal after coming out of this lockdown, to get to 10K. Hopefully,
there you go.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen. Thanks for coming on, brother. Talk to you later.
Have
a good one.
See you, man.